silence, no one need fear.
Well, it's really cool to be talking to you and knowing that there's a new Bats album just around the corner. I've been doing a lot of Zoom interviews with people all over the planet, and as soon as they know that I'm from New Zealand, the first thing that comes out of their mouth is, Flying Nun, I love this stuff. It doesn't matter how old they are, how young they are, everybody knows about the legacy that you guys have helped create. So,
good stuff.
It got to make you feel good after all this time, huh?
Yeah, it sort of sinks in after a while that what you've created is something pretty solid and working when you continue to run into people or talk to people that get a lot of enjoyment out of it.
Yep. And I explained to somebody, I said, the great thing about the Flying Nun scene is that most of the bands are still around. And I kind of explained to them that, well, we all live on these islands and we can't get away from each other. So I don't think you guys have any choice but to play together forever.
Pretty much. You can't, it's too small to hide in this place. Yeah.
Yeah. So the new album is, let's see, it's called Foothills.
That's the one.
My understanding is it was recorded a couple of years ago in 2018.
Yeah.
And of course, the world is a slightly different place now.
Slightly? That's an understatement.
It changes from minute to minute. It's like, what the heck? So how does that make you feel about, do you think it has any effect on how people perceive the music on the record?
The only thing I can think of off the top of my head is that in these crazy times with the pandemic is that the value of art is raised in terms of its not its importance, but its value probably.
Right.
In terms of, you're consuming or you're listening to something new. I think it takes on added relevance, or it's got an extra something because things are pretty grim out there. So something like an album or an artwork has got more to it.
Yes, it does indeed. And I have to say, there's something reassuring about knowing that there's a new Bats album out on Flying Nun Records in 2020. So, and I mean, let's face it, you guys do what you do. I'm just going to pick a track at random, like right in the middle, Red Car, and it kind of starts out with a little strum and the band falls in and it just feels like it's the easiest thing in the world.
See my fast car, it's my red car.
Yeah, well, that one especially, some songs we naturally fall into a feel and a groove and a rhythm straight away, and that was one of those ones. We just because it started with a couple of chords and an organ. Kay had come up with an organ sort of riff, and we tested the levels once and then just fell into it, and that was pretty much the take that we used on the album. So yeah, the songs like that come along that are just like they just come together so easily, which is a good sign. I think the harder you work at something and the more takes it takes you and the more overdubs you need, then it's probably not one of your best tracks.
Yeah. And does the band, I mean, you guys have been together for what, like 38 years, some ridiculous amount of time. I mean, I got to figure you're all kind of in the same headspace when you're doing this, and there's very little discussion. And
yeah, on the whole, we're on the same page musically a lot of the time. So when we're getting ready maybe to cut a track, we're doing things like, right, do we know what's happening at the end? How are we ending it? And we have done it, but we always do a bit of work beforehand in terms of demos. So when it comes time to record, we pretty much know what we're doing with the track and we know the arrangement. So it's more getting the right tempo and the right feel when we're about to do it. Run through it a couple of times. Right, that sounds good, and then boom.
Right. And when you were writing these songs, were you writing them with the Bats in mind? Because I know you do lots of other stuff as well. So do you sit down and go, okay, it's time to write a new Bats album?
Yeah. I think when I'm working on stuff, I know pretty much straight away if it's going to be a Bats one or not. Having said that, there are a few that from my solo stuff that has made it into the Bats realm, and vice versa. Some that I think would end up as Bats songs
Right.
for whatever reason have not made it, and then I've used them in the solo context. But
Right.
yeah, mostly I do know. Yeah.
So my understanding was the album was kind of recorded in about a week's time in some little house outside of
Yeah.
Christchurch somewhere. Maybe you can elaborate on that.
Yeah, sure. It's well, Kay and Paul have got a sort of holiday house in the Foothills, and it's near Springfield, which is an hour towards the middle of the island from Christchurch, so pretty much due west. And that's just at the start of the Southern Alps as they go up, and so they spend a lot of time out there. So they found this house that was available about 2 minutes drive from their little holiday house. So we went and checked it out, went, yep, this will work. And it's just a basic house. Like the room we recorded in is just the living room basically. And there wasn't much in there, just some couches and a fireplace. And we scoped it out and then worked out when we could do it and took all the gear out. So we recorded it ourselves. So Paul did a lot of really good engineering work in terms of setting up the sounds, and we tracked the drums and my guitar pretty much live and used those on the recordings, and some of Kay's guitar parts and some of Paul's bass parts made it on, and then the other parts just got added later.
So you have a video for Another Door. Was that filmed kind of near where the record was made?
Yeah. Yep. So we had someone with a drone, and they took a lot of footage, obviously, of the area, and a bit of us mucking around in the area out there, mucking around with the tractor and sort of the lifestyle block thing. So videos are funny. You've got to come up with something. I mean, you see all these flash ones on TV, but yeah, they kind of leave me pretty cold. You know, ones that they spend a lot of money on, and they just don't do it for me.
Right.
I prefer to see the band walking down to the shop to get some milk, and then
there you go.
Mucking around on the
for war was a little bit different.
Manufacture the truth you want, make up shit, believe in it, choose direction, go with flow, navigate your way back home.
Yeah, that is, yeah. That's a friend of ours was doing a short film project, and he basically made that, or come up with that idea and made that video, and it sort of transpired that we decided that would work with the song somehow, even though it's not really related. But it seems sometimes you can choose or find a video that isn't really linked, but once you see it with the song a couple of times, your brain makes these connections, then suddenly it is a working video with the song.
Yes. And he plays, his name is Connor, right? And he's like, he produced it, directed it, edited it, acts in it twice. It's two parts.
Yeah. And then replicates himself.
Very cool. And another song that there's a video for is Gone to Ground, which I think, is there an EBO in that as well?
Yeah, there is EBO. Yeah, I think Kay or Paul did an overdub later with the EBO, just to give it some extra spooky effect. And the EBO is always good for that.
I could be floating away. I may not be here today.
So when you do that, like, you've laid down the basic tracks all together, and then you kind of come back and tart it up a bit. Is there much discussion between the band about that, or does just somebody kind of go, let's throw some EBO in that?
Yeah, pretty much the latter. We did talk about the overdubs quite a bit, so we discussed, I guess, what we felt each song needed, and wrote it down on a piece of parchment with a lead scratcher, and
Right.
um, and then sort of revisited those ideas. So a lot of those overdubs were Kay and Paul. I did all my guitar parts at the time in the last day of the recording, along with my vocals. So because I'm 5 hours south, so I got my parts done. And with those overdubs, it was a case of trying them and then forwarding the recordings for the rest of the band to check and touch base on them and go, yeah, that's cool, that's in the right direction, or yeah, that doesn't work, try something else. So through those systems, I guess we arrive at a final version, and we're happy with everything.
Right. And of course, I mean, since you guys have been the same 4 people working together for 1,001 years, it's got to be like second nature. I mean, do you even have to talk to each other at this point?
Oh yes. Yeah. No, we discuss things like that quite a bit. And depending on the song, people will have strong opinions about it, what it needs, and then other songs they almost finish themselves, and it's like,
Right.
oh, that just needs one more guitar part and it's done. So it varies song to song.
Right. And so the album is out on the 13th, which is just a few days away.
Yeah.
We're kind of free and clear to do what we want these days. So what are you going to do?
Well, we're playing with the Phoenix Foundation in Christchurch on the 12th, the night before.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got a show in February, and then we'll probably do Auckland, Wellington, Dunedin sometime in the new year as well. So we hadn't really planned ahead in terms of touring because of the COVID-19. So it was kind of up in the air. So we didn't want to commit to any dates. So now that things have freed up, we can start booking some dates.
Right. And it's got to be affect you in somehow that you can't go overseas and do your thing. Is that kind of frustrating?
Yeah, it is. Because we probably would have gone overseas with the album. So Australia may open up later, but we'll only go if it's totally safe. We don't want to take any risks at our advanced age.
Yes. Advanced age, yeah. Well, I mean, that is something to think about and talk about as we all are getting older here. Mortality, and you see people kind of falling by the wayside as things go along. So, do you feel like you have stuff that you got to do before it's too late?
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah. I lost my dad a year ago, and my sister a few months before that. So that tends to sort of sit with you for a while, and as you say, as you get older, more people, friends are passing away around you, and there's been quite a few friends over the last year or so. But so that does weigh on you, or lives on your shoulder a bit. So I think with what I do, I just like I don't know, to get all those songs out that I've been writing. And just to, I don't know, share them with people really, and see what they make of them.
So these songs were obviously written at least 2 years ago. So is there another batch of them sitting around somewhere waiting to be done?
Yeah, I've got enough for about another 10 albums just waiting to go.
I love it. I think we're just going to be wallowing in new music for like the next 5 years after this COVID thing.
I think so. Yeah. No. We're going to probably start the next one sometime next year, I'd say, because there seems to be long gaps between them, and it seems like we haven't been very busy, but we feel we've been quite busy, and for various reasons this album took a while to come out. So we recorded it a while ago, and then it took quite a while to do the mixing and the overdubs, and then it lost a slot in the production schedule and things like that. So for lots of different reasons it's taken a while to come out, but and so those songs kind of feel not old, but that they were done quite a while ago. So it's like that lot's done. Get on to the next one.
and do you? I mean, you've been a part of the New Zealand music scene since the early '80s. and it's changed quite a bit, I would imagine. I got here in the mid '90s, so do you pay attention to what's going on with new artists and with the way things work as far as who gets paid by what and how the things are distributed and all that?
Yes and no. I don't spend too much time watching what others do. I keep an ear and an eye out for new acts that are coming through and sort of check them out. But and the industry is very Auckland centred as well. So there seems to be, like whenever it's the music awards or anything like that, it's very much Auckland centred.
Right.
So in some ways we feel a bit on the outer, not that we're worried about that or feel slighted or anything or tempted to move away. But it does seem like there's, a different area of I guess that's more the more commercial stuff, I guess, is occupying its own niche. And don't really feel part of that as such.
Yeah.
And I think we're more associated with just trying to put out good stuff and play when we can, and sort of connect with the people that like stuff. I mean, ideally, I'd love one of the new songs to be a hit on the radio, but it also
what
seems
that means anymore.
Yeah, exactly. What's a hit on the radio, or
what
an
the
extra
radio?
100. Yeah. Oh, the radio's great. It's my favourite thing. I hear stuff on national radio overnight that I've never heard before, and half remember it in my sleep, and actually check it out the next day. And it's actually, it's really good. It can be really good stuff. So,
Definitely.
There's so much stuff out there that you don't necessarily track down, but it just takes someone else to play it and you listening to it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you go online and look for music, there's so much around, you just get bogged down in it as well. So I just tend to react or listen to what sort of comes up in front of me by whatever means.
Because there's so much out there. Now, you mentioned, that there's a lot more stuff going on just in Auckland. I had a guy up here yesterday, Stretch, who's from Hawke's Bay, and he kind of was expressing the same thing, that there's, and I remember kind of a buddy of mine, Dave Yetton from JPS Experience.
Oh, yeah.
I had a discussion with him about the location and coming from the Southern Island and how important that was to his music that he made. Do you feel that is integral into what ends up sounding like the Bats?
Yeah, I think so. I think your the landscape around you and where you live helps define what you do. I couldn't put my finger exactly on it, but a sense of space, and time and calmness, and also that the weather can be quite powerful as well. So it's one of those undefinable or indefinable things that it's hard to put your finger on, but it's definitely real. Yeah.
Well, I think people are ready for a sense of calmness after everything, especially after the election and stuff in the States.
After the orange man's gone.
Yes.
He'll have to get dragged kicking and screaming, won't he?
Yeah, I think. I have my own thoughts about that. Yes, but exactly. Anyway, well, thank you very much for sharing some time with me about this record. Can't wait for it to come out. Is it coming out on vinyl as well? I'm sure it is.
Yep. We've got some vinyl done. We've got some coloured vinyl that's all sold out, and then we've got normal old black vinyl. So we tend to sell quite a bit to our fans on vinyl. A lot of those people are vinyl junkies.
So,
yeah. I've got a similar looking collection.
Excellent, fantastic. Well, all right. Well, have a good day. Thank you very much.
Thanks again, Marty. Great to talk to you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, cheers. Bye-bye.